So how are you feeling today? A little bit distressed, maybe discouraged, feeling like you need to be rescued? Well, there's a story in the Bible that I think that will really help you sort out maybe how you're feeling today. And it's found in 1 Samuel chapter 1. What's happening here is David knows that he's called to be king. He's not sitting on the throne yet. And he's pursuing his enemies and he's wreaking havoc across the land. And while he's at war, the enemy comes and destroys everything that he has. He's staying at a town called Ziklag and they burn it to the ground. They take his wives, they take everything. All of his stuff and his possessions are gone. And David had just been fighting for like days and days on end. So he comes to this town where he's expected to be greeted by his wives and the men are going to relax and eat and have a good time and enjoy the spoils of their labor. And their town is literally burnt to the ground. And in 1 Samuel chapter 30 verse 6 it says, David was greatly distressed because the men were talking of stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. So David finds himself in this position where he's physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and he's distressed, and the guys that are supposed to be on his team want to kill him. It's kind of a tough situation. And if we find ourselves in situations like that where we're surrounded by trouble and by problem and things that we feel like are so outside of our control, it's easy to get overwhelmed with distress. But the key here in David's life can also be the key to bringing you out of that distress in your life as well. It says, David found strength in the Lord his God. Sometimes when I read this, it really annoys me because it's such a short sentence. David found strength in the Lord his God. And I'm like, how? What did he do? What was his secret? What was the magic trick? Was it a song he sang? Was it a revelation that God showed him? But it just says that David found strength in the Lord his God. And I think the key is we have to find that strength in God. It's not in a formula. It's not in a specific song. It's not in a specific verse in the Bible, but it's in our relationship with God. It's easy to want to be saved when we're in situations like this, but God is actually looking at our lives and he's saying, what are you going to do? I imagine that David was spending time in God's presence and he was thinking about who God is and who he was and what God had promised over his own life. And as a result of strengthening himself, he was able to stand up, he was able to lead his men, and if you read the rest of the chapter, they have an amazing victory. I want to encourage you today, you don't have to be distressed. And if you are distressed, you don't have to stay distressed, but you can encourage yourself in the Lord your God. Strength is found in God. You don't need to be rescued, you need to be strengthened in God, and he's going to help you stand up and fight the battle that you need to fight.